Heartwarming turnaround, how a maid's unexpected act of kindness changed 100 lives forever. Mia stood in the bright kitchen of the Andersons, sunlight streaming through the windows as she polished the marble countertops. The scent of fresh coffee wafted, and for a moment, she let herself dream. Life could be beautiful. But realities poured in like the Lake Minnesota chill. A soft voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Mommy, can we have spaghetti for dinner?" It was Leo, her 6-year-old ball of energy, followed closely by his little sister, Lily, who blinked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. With a heartwarming smile, Mia promised, "Of course, sweethearts." She reminded herself of the dreams she hoped to instill in them, no matter how meager their circumstances. Alongside some late-night cleaning jobs and their laughter, she was building a life rich with love. But then everything changed. The Andersons, the one family in the neighborhood who seemed to have it all, faced a financial ruin that shook the very streets Mia inhabits. Rumors spread like wildfire: market crash, bad investments. Gone were their vacations, the fancy cars. Mia felt a pang of heartache. She respected the couple. They worked hard, despite their fortune, and now they were a family in distress. Suddenly, Mia found herself at a crossroads. Despite her own troubles, she felt a calling to help them. What about a fundraiser? The idea flickered like a lighthouse in storms. She stepped forward, ready to brave the whispers and judgments of neighbors who might scoff at her lowly maid status. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the community gathered, secrets spilled like rain. There were stories of personal struggles, lives marked by losses, victories won against all odds. Mia felt the weight of their shared history. Yet, beneath the surface, tensions bubbled. Skepticism flickered in the eyes of some, a maid rallying a neighborhood of wealth. The undertones of bias scraped against her confidence like frostbite. Doubt gnawed at her resolve. Could she truly bridge these divides? Would her humble beginnings taint the efforts of what she hoped to achieve? Yet, as she spoke, sharing her vision of uniting their community, she noticed nods of approval. People began to gather. Spirits rose like balloons, filling the air with hope and anticipation. A flicker against negativity. Just when the fundraiser seemed to gain momentum, disaster struck. An unexpected crisis threatened her plans. A dismissive neighbor believed the fundraiser was a disaster waiting to happen. Could she stand her ground, or would she retreat into the shadows, letting envy win like so many times before? Mia hesitated, her heart pounding, faces around her blurring into a screen of fear and resolve. Could her integrity spark change, or would the prejudices that loomed darkest show her the door? Her breath paused in the chilly air, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. The question lingered, hanging like the cool autumn mist: could kindness truly conquer the divides choking her community? Mia's heart raced as whispers sliced through the crisp air. Voices rising and falling like the evening tide, her mind was a whirlpool of determination and doubt. Should she call for silence? Should she confront the naysayer right then and there? Or should she just retreat, letting the fragile fire of hope flicker out? The healthy glow that once brightened her spirits dimmed, suffocated by uncertainty. But in Leo's and Lily's trusting eyes, she saw a mirror of her own dreams. She had to rise above the judgment and skepticism. These whispers were not just about her, they echoed through the hearts of every person in the room who faced similar struggles. Everyone. She called, letting her voice lift above the low hum of dissent. Silence fell, eyes turned to her, filled with curiosity and skepticism. I know it has been hard for all of us. We each carry our burdens, and some heavier than others. But our strength lies in unity, she continued, feeling the ground solidify beneath her feet. We are stronger when we stand together. A low murmur of agreement traveled through the crowd. Mia locked eyes with a few familiar faces, her neighbors who had shared smiles over garden fences and brief chats at school pickup. She felt something shift, an invisible thread weaving between their shared struggles and perhaps shared hope. A man she had seen walking his dog every morning stepped forward. You know, Mia, we've all been too focused on what we have lost. Maybe it's time we focus on what we can create together. His words rang like a bell, lifting spirits. A few people nodded, their eyes gleaming with a flicker of determination, yet just then, the dismissive neighbor, Mrs. Hawthorne, stepped into the circle, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Let us be real, Mia. Fundraisers rarely lead to anything meaningful, they often turn into a waste of time and money. Scorn dripped from her words. But Mia refused to let her deflate them. Every big change starts small. A spark can ignite a fire and create warmth for everyone around us, she replied, feeling the heat rising in her chest, tapping into something deeper than fear. Mrs. Hawthorne raised an eyebrow, still skeptical, and some in the crowd hesitated, torn. Doubt slithered into hearts like shadowy intruders. At that moment, Mia's resolve solidified, launching her into the next phase of her vision. Let us share our stories, she suggested, her voice layered with sincerity. Let us connect beyond our worries and show each other our true selves. Marry our strengths and our ideas. As she moved to the front of the gathered crowd, Mia discovered that vulnerability had a powerful effect. A nearby mother, teary-eyed, spoke of her struggles with an underemployed husband, how she worried for their children's future. Others, emboldened by her honesty, began to share their own battles, health issues, job losses, emotional scars. Suddenly, the once wary neighborhood transformed into a tapestry of voices, stitching together journeys of difficulty and resilience. The empathy in the air felt palpable, weaving a fabric of community that no one could deny. But just as the mood swelled with newfound hope, Mia could feel Mrs. Hawthorne's icy stare. The battle wasn't over. Thank you for sharing. But do you really think this is enough? She barked, interrupting the wave of warmth. The air thickened with tension. Mia's next words were vital. It's not just about a fundraiser. It's about heart, compassion, and the willingness to rise together. Mia's heart thudded, knowing she had to navigate this treacherous territory with care. Would this be the point where she finally earned the neighbor's respect? Or would her efforts unravel, spiraling into the shadows once again? In that charged moment, she stood determined, ready to ignite a flame against doubt and division. Whatever came next would shape the future they all craved. As eyes turned back to her, Mia raised her chin. It was time for the real challenge to begin. Would kindness truly spark a revolution in her community? The answer loomed just beyond reach, like the flicker of light at the end of a dark tunnel. Would they embrace it, or would fear snuff it out? Mia stood there, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. The weight of hope clashed with the shadows of doubt. She could see Leo and Lily's eager faces in the crowd, but her gaze drifted back to Mrs. Hawthorne, who seemed ready to pounce on any sign of weakness. I get it, Mia said, raising her voice just a notch. It's easy to think that change is impossible. It's easier to be skeptical than to believe in something new. But look around you. She gestured gently to the people around her. Look at these stories we're sharing. They matter. We matter. There was a brief flicker of surprise on Mrs. Hawthorne's face, but she quickly masked it with her usual stern demeanor. Talking one solve our problems. The world doesn't change by standing in a circle and sharing feelings. Maybe not, Mia countered, her heart pounding with adrenaline. But it's a start. And it's about more than just talking. By sharing our experiences, we are building a foundation. We can come together to support one another and create real change. She felt a charge in the air, the kind that hinted something significant was unfolding. More neighbors were nodding now, their wary expressions softening. The stories they heard were beginning to connect them in ways they hadn't imagined. Mia took a breath. Let us think of our community. We can create a fundraiser, yes. But it needs to be grounded in something deeper. We could start a community garden, allowing us to feed our families and share resources. Or maybe set up a skill-sharing program, teaching each other what we know to help those who need it most. As she spoke, she could see those original sparks of hope transforming into eagerness. What if we came together weekly, not just to raise money, but to genuinely support one another? To learn and grow? Suddenly, a voice chimed in the crowd. I have an idea too. My sister knows how to fix old bikes. Maybe we could start a program where people can learn repairs for free. Yes. Another neighbor called out. And I can teach cooking classes for families on a budget. We could even have potlucks. Mia's heart soared. Light began to shimmer in the glances exchanged around her, each idea building upon the last, knitting connections that had long lain dormant. But Mrs. Hawthorne, never one to yield, interrupted once again. And what if it all falls apart? What if no one shows to help? Her voice dripped with skepticism, but there was a hint of anxiety beneath it. Mia paused, truly considering her words. What if it does? She offered softly, the warmth of their shared stories flooding back to her. But what if it doesn't? What if by standing together, we create something beautiful? What if every small action leads to something life-changing for one of us? The words hung in the air, lingering like a promise. She could feel some in the crowd begin to shift, their doubts giving way just a bit. Then, Leo took a step forward, fire in his eyes. I believe in this. I believe in us. We've been so buried in our own struggles that we've forgotten we're not alone. More voices chimed in, growing louder with each heartbeat. We're with you, Mia. Someone shouted. Let us do this. Another yelled. Mia felt the energy of the group swell, every member now ignited with purpose. They were grappling with the reality that fear could no longer hold them back. Okay, Mia declared, her voice ringing with determination. Let us set a date to start planning together. We'll meet right here next week. She felt the weight of the world lift slightly as they began to chatter excitedly about possible schedules and ideas. But just before the crowd began to disperse, Mia felt a surge of unease amidst the brightening atmosphere. Mrs. Hawthorne remained, her arms still crossed, eyes calculating. Mia's heart sank momentarily. Would the glimmers of hope be enough to withstand the chill of doubt? What final obstacle would Mrs. Hawthorne put forth to crush this new dream? As Mia glanced at her community coming together, she knew the journey was just beginning. The fight for change wasn't merely about their immediate challenges, it was about drawing each other out of the dark. As she held her breath concerning what lay ahead, one thought gripped her. Would this fragile flame of unity endure the next storm? Whatever happened next could either galvanize them or rattle the very foundations they were trying to build. Mia woke up the next morning, the sunlight streaming in through her window, glinting off the dew-kissed grass outside. The excitement of the evening before lingered in her mind like a familiar song. She couldn't shake the feeling that something different was brewing in her neighborhood, a change stronger than the doubts that had clung to them for so long. But as she sipped her coffee, her thoughts drifted back to Mrs. Hawthorne. What would she do next? Mia had sensed the older woman's skepticism hardening into something more like a barrier, blocking what they were trying to build. Was she destined to be the thorn in their side, or could she be turned into an ally? Determined to move forward, Mia decided to pay Mrs. Hawthorne a visit. She felt it was essential to reach out, to extend an olive branch. If they were truly going to thrive as a community, they needed every pair of hands, even the hesitant ones. With a light knock, she opened the door to Mrs. Hawthorne's home, her heart racing. The familiar scent of fresh cookies filled the air, a surprising contrast to the stern woman she had come to know. The older woman answered the door with an eyebrow raised, clearly taken aback by Mia's unexpected visit. "Mia, what brings you here?" Mrs. Hawthorne asked, holding a dish towel in one hand. "I just wanted to talk," Mia replied, taking a cautious step inside. "I know you have questions about the meeting. And I want to hear your thoughts." Mrs. Hawthorne sighed, her displeasure masking the flickers of curiosity beneath. "I don't see the point, Mia. Change doesn't happen overnight. It takes more than just sharing stories and good intentions." Mia nodded. "I understand. I really do. But what if we didn't just share stories? What if we worked together to build something real, something tangible? Like those neighbors shared ideas for classes. Don't you think there's value in that?" Mrs. Hawthorne studied her for a moment, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "Idealism won't save us from our problems. And realism hasn't done much either," Mia countered gently. "But change can start small. A shared meal, a skill taught. What if it led to a stronger community?" "People are so often too wrapped in their own lives," Mrs. Hawthorne murmured. "What makes you think they will care enough to join in?" Mia felt the weight of the question but pressed on, her voice steady. "Because sometimes all it takes is one person to reach out. The moment they realize they're part of something bigger, it can spark hope. Hope can lead to action." Slowly, Mia saw a flicker of something in Mrs. Hawthorne's eyes, a softening, a glimmer of something that might even resemble belief. "You really think it could work?" she asked, her voice quieter now, more vulnerable. "I do," Mia replied, feeling the warmth of conviction spread through her. "And if you join us, you could help shape it. Your experience could guide others in ways none of us could see." Mrs. Hawthorne's defenses began to drop just a little. "You're asking me to be part of this?" "Yes," Mia said, her heart racing with hope. They stood in silence, the weight of possibility hanging between them. It felt like a fragile thread connecting different worlds, each pulling on their separate lives, now intertwining. Just then, the shrill ring of Mia's phone shattered the moment. It was Leo, breathless with excitement. "Mia! You won't believe what I just heard. The local news is interested in covering our community meeting next week. They want to spotlight our cause." Mia felt her heart leap. She turned back to Mrs. Hawthorne, whose expression had shifted. There was contemplation, a hint of something that felt almost like willingness. "Maybe," Mrs. Hawthorne began hesitantly, "I could consider joining you." As Mia ended the call, she looked back at Mrs. Hawthorne's swirling expression. Would this mark the beginning of a crucial partnership, or would doubt still hold sway? With that lingering question in her mind, she could feel the light beginning to flicker again, a chance for true unity. But would they be able to harness this momentum and break through the barriers that divided them? Or would old habits reassert themselves just when hope was within reach? Mia left Mrs. Hawthorne's house, her mind buzzing with hope. The weather outside mirrored her spirit, bright and vibrant. She had fought through the heavy air of skepticism, and now she could almost feel the spark of change igniting. She hurried back home, her thoughts racing. The news of the coverage would resonate through the neighborhood, spreading excitement and interest like wildfire. As she prepared for the day, Mia couldn't shake the warmth that surged within her. The idea of Mrs. Hawthorne joining them felt monumental. But in the back of her mind lingered the reality that commitment was only the beginning, a beginning filled with uncertainty. What if Mrs. Hawthorne changed her mind? What if others didn't share their enthusiasm? That evening, Mia gathered at the community center. The large room was filled with neighbors, faces mixed with excitement and disbelief. Leo stood at the front, bouncing on his heels, the energy radiating from him palpable. "Okay everyone," he shouted, gathering attention, "we have the news coverage coming, and I need each of you to share your ideas. This is our moment." The chatter settled into a buzz of eager voices, and painfully shy glances turned into hopeful smiles. Mia's heart fluttered as she saw familiar faces, a group of parents discussing a crafts club, an elderly couple dreaming of a gardening initiative. The mixture of hope and determination was intoxicating, but then, right on cue, the door creaked open, and in walked Mrs. Hawthorne. A hush fell over the room as everyone turned to witness the older woman's entrance. It was as though she stepped out of the shadows of doubt into the spotlight of potential. Mia's breath caught in her throat. Mrs. Hawthorne was early enough for the meeting. Did that mean she was really on board? Hello everyone, she began, her voice steady but softer than usual. I've seen many communities rise and fall. I've watched people come together, and drift apart. But if you're willing to put in the effort, I would like to help too. A wave of relief washed over the room. People exchanged inspired glances as murmurs of approval swept through the crowd. Mia felt her heart swell, an overwhelming wave of gratitude for Mrs. Hawthorne's gesture. She looked on, each word from the older woman resonating like bated breaths waiting for a reveal. Let us start small, maybe a potluck or some classes to showcase skills. The first step is crucial. The weight of her experience spoke louder than any critique. Mia stepped forward, spurred on by the shift in energy. We could have a sign-up sheet right here, she suggested, enthusiasm frothing in her words. Just think. Sharing our culinary skills, crafts, anything. Everybody brings something to the table. As the discussion flowed, Mia caught snippets of laughter and ideas blooming everywhere. What began as silence turned into a symphony of possibilities. Willingness transformed into action, and with each shared idea, the community deepened its roots. As the meeting wound down, Leo's phone buzzed with updates about the new coverage. He raised it triumphantly. Guys, they want to showcase a neighborhood feature story. It's all about community spirit. Cheers erupted as Mia found her gaze seeking out Mrs. Hawthorne. There they stood, two different visions of community finally aligned, a spark igniting something that could reach beyond their streets. But just as laughter filled the air, another thought struck Mia. Was this solid ground they had just built, or was there still hidden turbulence waiting to emerge? The possibilities felt endless, yet they loomed with the threat of old failures creeping back in. Mia gripped the edge of the table, determined that whatever lay ahead wouldn't bring them down. Deep down, she hoped this blossoming connection would withstand the trials to come. As everyone dispersed with excitement, Mia sensed a tension rising somewhere in the shadows, an unseen resistance. Who could be lurking in the corners of their joyful bubble, waiting to cast doubt over this newfound hope? The next few days were a whirlwind of energy for Mia. She could hardly sleep, her mind racing with ideas and possibilities. The anticipation of the neighborhood article had everyone buzzing, and her heart swelled each time she walked past the community board, now covered in colorful flyers. Workshops, book clubs, and even a quirky game night loomed on the horizon, promising connection and camaraderie, but beneath the thrill of it all, that nagging doubt refused to melt away. It felt like a shadow lurking at the edges of her joy, a whispering voice asking, what if no one shows up? What if someone sabotages this? Mia kicked the thoughts away as she joined her neighbors in planning each new initiative. One sunny afternoon, they hosted a community cookout in the park. Everything felt celebratory, from the vibrant balloons dancing in the warm breeze to the laughter that rang out like music. Mia stood behind a long table piled high with homemade dishes. She could see Mrs. Hawthorne chatting animatedly with some parents beside her, their laughter mingling with the sizzling sounds of burgers on the grill. I can't believe how many people showed up, Leo exclaimed, sliding a plate filled with food toward Mia. His eyes sparkled with excitement, and she couldn't help but mirror his grin. Yet, even as joy seeped into every corner of her heart, the unease stayed, coiling tightly like a spring. Mia, a hesitant voice called from the back of the crowd. It was Janet, a neighbor known for her outspoken opinions. She stepped forward, her brow furrowed with uncertainty. Do you really think this is going to last? What if it's just a phase? A silence fell over the gathering. Mia's breath hitched. She could see others glancing around, uncertain after Janet's words cut through their buzz. Doubt hung in the air for just a moment. Mia's heart raced with the weight of it. "Look," Mia started, her voice a little shaky but growing stronger, "we're building something special here. Change doesn't happen overnight. This is just the beginning. We just need to keep showing up for each other, little by little." But even as she spoke, the hesitation in Janet's eyes didn't fade. "You're being too optimistic, Mia," she replied. "These gatherings, what if they don't bring us closer? What then?" Mia felt a tight knot form in her stomach. Was she being too naive? What if Janet was right? The lingering thoughts made her second-guess every spark of excitement she held dear. Suddenly, the laughter of children playing nearby broke the tension, drawing Mia's gaze back to the happy chaos surrounding them. There were families bonding, friends reconnecting, an embrace of unity that she hadn't witnessed before. A smile crept onto her face, and she remembered why she had pushed so hard in the first place. "Maybe it's about the small moments," she said, turning back to the group. "Every meal shared, every conversation, is a step closer to something big. If we let fear stop us now, we'll never know what we could become." The crowd murmured in agreement, a collective movement toward hope. The warmth of the day enveloped them once more, and Mia could feel the burden shift just slightly. Even if doubts lingered, there was strength in their shared commitment. As the sun set, the picturesque colors painted across the sky reflected the collective dream they were weaving together. But deep down, Mia wondered how long the surge of unity would truly last, and what challenges waited just around the bend. She glanced around, catching sight of Mrs. Hawthorne, who flashed her a reassuring smile, yet none of them could predict what might threaten this delicate fabric. Suddenly, a shout broke the jovial air. Something was happening at the edge of the park. The laughter faded and heads turned. A group of people approached, faces Mia didn't recognize, their expressions unreadable. What storm was brewing in their presence, threatening to disrupt the fragile harmony they had just begun to build? Mia's heart sank as she watched the unfamiliar group stride closer. A mix of apprehension and curiosity filled the air, and whispers rippled through the crowd. She recalled the times when her excitement had been muted by worried thoughts, and now her instincts screamed for caution. "Who are they?" Leo asked, leaning in closer to Mia. His eyes narrowed, squinting at the newcomers. I don't know," Mia replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Just then, the group came into view, revealing not just a handful of faces but a small crowd, easily 50 or more people, each wearing matching t-shirts emblazoned with some kind of slogan. "Hey!" one of the newcomers called out, his tone friendly yet commanding enough to catch everyone's attention. "We're the Unity crew from down the road. We heard about your cookout and wanted to crash the party." Mia imagined she should feel relieved, but unease prickled at her. She looked over at Janet, who folded her arms and rolled her eyes. The tension lingered, uncertain, like a storm cloud hanging low in the sky. The leader of the Unity crew stepped forward. "No need to worry, we come in peace." He grinned, and his enthusiasm seemed to radiate through the crowd. "We've been organizing events for a while, and we love what you're doing here. Let us mingle." In an instant, several curious neighbors began to approach the newcomers, intrigued by the idea of expanding their community. Mia watched as a few children ran toward the group, their laughter breaking the tension that had almost threatened to consume the day. Maybe it could be an opportunity, she whispered to Leo, optimism threading through her uncertainty, but just as she formed the thought, Janet piped up again, her voice cutting through the pleasant buzz. "Opportunity? Or just more chaos, Mia?" Her words dripped with skepticism. Mia felt conflicted. Were they walking into something beautiful, or a trap that could unravel everything she'd worked for? She took a deep breath, searching for courage. The leader of the Unity crew began to share stories, highlighting their own neighborhood gatherings and the connections they created. The crowd, once wary, began to soften, exchanging nods and smiles as they listened. Mia found herself drawn into the warmth radiating from them. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Unity crew members, a young woman with bright blue hair, stepped forward. "And in case you all needed motivation," she said, holding up a handful of colorful flyers, "we brought some ideas we've been using too. Let us collaborate." The atmosphere shifted, energy crackling through the park. Children bounced around, chasing each other, adults slowly mingling, and laughter returned, a sweet music that felt right. Mia leaned over to Leo. "Maybe we can really build something together." She felt her doubts begin to unwind, even as a small part of her still worried about the risks, but just when it seemed unity was blossoming, a sharp voice cut through the laughter again. It was Janet, glaring at the newcomers. "You honestly think we should just trust these strangers? What if this is a ploy to take something from us?" Mia's heart raced as the joyful mood turned fragile once more. People began exchanging uneasy glances. Suddenly, an elderly man standing beside Janet spoke up, his voice steady and strong. "Perhaps, Janet, it's not about distrust but about opening our hearts. We've all felt alone at times. Isn't that why we're here today?" His words hung in the air, weighing heavily on the crowd, prompting contemplation. What if this encounter could ripple into something meaningful, a new chapter for everyone? Mia stood at the center of it all, electrified and trembling. She knew now was the moment to lean into possibility and bridge the gap between fear and hope. But would she be able to steer her community through this test of faith? As she opened her mouth to speak, the world around her seemed to pause, all eyes on her. What type of leader would she be? What kind of decision would she make at this pivotal moment? Would she choose to embrace the unknown, or retreat to her comfort zone? It was time to find out. Mia took a deep breath, the eyes of her neighbors weighing on her like an anchor. She could feel their hope and hesitation mingle in the air. The laughter of children danced near, a sweet reminder of the joy that could linger, but could she really step forward into this unknown? "Hey, everyone," she began, her voice trembling slightly but strengthening with each word. "I know change is scary. But isn't that what we're here for?" Janet shot her a sharp look, but Mia pressed on. "We've been hearing each other's voices and doubts for so long. Today, we have a chance to blend our communities. To learn from each other." The crowd began to murmur, some nodding in reluctant agreement. The elderly man, who had spoken earlier, offered a warm smile that bolstered Mia's resolve. "Look at the kids," she pointed out, beaming as laughter rang through the park. "They don't see differences. They just see friends. Maybe we should reclaim that joy. What if they're not safe?" Janet's voice was a low hiss, rising against the tide of positivity beginning to swell. What if this all ends in disaster? Mia felt the heat rise in her chest, frustration bubbling within her. But what if it doesn't? She shot back, surprising even herself. What if this is our chance to start fresh, to cultivate harmony? A moment of stunned silence fell. Then, slowly, the murmurs shifted, echoing her sentiment. The leader of the Unity crew, whose name Mia learned was Jake, stepped closer, his smile infectious. "We're all human. We want to help our neighbors. We love to share our stories and ideas. Let us make a safe place for everyone." The sincerity in his eyes sparked something deep in Mia's heart. Could they really create something beautiful from this? Janet hesitated, her brow furrowing. But what does that mean for us? Are we sacrificing our own values? Mia turned to her, the urgency of the moment filling the air. No. We're building on them. Just because we welcome new ideas doesn't mean we abandon who we are. It means we grow. Some of the neighbors shared glances, interest had begun to replace doubt. She could see it, shifting in the way they leaned in or whispered to one another. "Let us organize a meeting," someone from the crowd suggested, an elder woman who Mia knew had lived in their community for decades. "We can hear them out. If it's a genuine effort, why hold back?" Mia's heart soared. Hope bubbled like fizzy soda. Yes. Let us plan an event where we all come together. If we stand united today, maybe we can break down walls tomorrow. As energy surged between the groups, Janet slowly began to uncross her arms, her expression softening just a fraction. Suspicion still danced in her eyes, but perhaps she was considering after all. The two communities merged into an animated conversation, laughter and voices vibrating with potential. Mia felt the weight of responsibility settling proudly on her shoulders. For the first time in a long while, she felt buoyed by a purpose, a chance to transform the fabric of her neighborhood, but just as she began thinking about the next steps, a sudden commotion erupted near the grills. A child had tripped, and everyone's attention snapped back, a brief reminder that not all distractions could be set aside. Didn't you see? Someone's hurt. A worried parent shouted, rushing toward the scene. Mia's heart jumped back into her throat. Was this chaos a sign of things to come? Just as she prepared to move, she thought of connecting both groups in that moment of crisis. Would this challenge bring them closer together? Determined, she forced herself into action, taking a step forward, ready to lead. Would this moment reveal the unity they desperately needed, or pull them apart? The answer awaited just beyond the storm of emotions crashing in. Mia dashed toward the commotion, her heart racing. The child, a little boy with dirt-smudged cheeks, lay on the ground, holding his scraped knee. His face contorted with pain, and tears streamed down his face, glistening in the sunlight. "Let me through," she called, squeezing past onlookers who were immobilized by worry. When she reached the scene, a cluster of parents and kids had gathered around the boy. "It's okay, buddy," she knelt beside him, trying to keep her voice steady. "What's your name?" "Sam," he whimpered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mia." She smiled gently, hoping to ease his fear. "I'm here to help. Can you show me where it hurts?" He pointed at his knee, and Mia carefully examined the scrape. It wasn't deep, but the sight of blood sent a jolt through her. "You're going to be just fine," she reassured him. "We just need to clean it up and put on a bandage." From the crowd, a woman stepped forward. Jake's mom, she realized instantly. "I have a first aid kit in my car. I'll grab it." As she ran off, Mia remembered the other children watching. "Hey, everyone!" she called out, meeting their wide eyes. "Why don't we gather some rocks or sticks and make a cool fort while we wait for Sam to get bandaged up? It'll be fun." Laughter erupted from a few kids nearby, and one by one, they began to slip away from the crowd, curiosity evident on their faces. Even Janet was on the edge, visibly torn between protecting her community and wanting the best for the child. Sam looked up at Mia, a flicker of hope breaking through his tears. "Do you promise?" "Absolutely." Mia grinned, giving him a thumbs up. She could feel a small warmth spread in her heart. Maybe this could be the beginning of something beautiful. Even with chaos around them, moments of connection were shining through. Just then, Jake returned with the first aid kit, his expression full of determination. "Okay, Sam. Let us take care of that knee." With Mia guiding him, he knelt close to the boy, showing him each step. "You've got to help us out, Sam. What do you think?" Sam nodded, his tears slowly fading. Together, they cleaned the wound, and Mia found herself caught in a swirl of laughter and chatter as the kids worked beside them. Even Janet was leaning in, a small smile creeping onto her face as she watched the kids strategizing about the fort. As Sam's knee was patched up, Mia glanced around. She saw two boys from different neighborhoods discussing plans for their collaborative fort, exchanging ideas and stories with genuine excitement. I think we can make a pirate ship," one boy exclaimed, his eyes wide. A tremor of joy filled Mia. She had hoped for this sort of unity, but witnessing it right here, in this moment, felt electrifying. Once Sam was all bandaged up, he stood on shaky legs, pride cracking through his initial fear. "Can we build that pirate ship now?" "Absolutely." Mia cheered, taking Sam's hand as he took his first few steps. The group began to move, and as they picked up sticks and rocks, the children chatted freely, getting to know one another. While the parents still glanced uneasily at each other, the tension in the air started to dissipate. Janet stepped forward, her eyes softer than before. "I think this might actually work, Mia." Mia felt a fluttering in her chest. Perhaps change wasn't as frightening as they all believed. She caught Jake's gaze, and in that moment, they shared an unspoken understanding. This misstep had become a bridge rather than a wall, but as the laughter of children filled the park, a rustling from the edge of the group caught Mia's attention. A shadow loomed close by, a familiar figure watching intently with a mix of confusion and apprehension. Could this moment draw in yet another perspective, igniting even more conversations? Who was watching, and what would their response mean for the unity Mia had strived for? The excitement surged in her. This journey was far from over. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mia took a deep breath, absorbing the atmosphere filled with laughter and camaraderie. Each child was busy piecing together their makeshift pirate ship, smiles plastered on their little faces, lost in innocent delight. Unity had begun to blossom, not just amidst the children, but among the parents, too. Suddenly, a frail voice piped up from the back. "Mia?" It was Mrs. Hawthorne. She stood at the edge of the crowd, her expression a mixture of uncertainty and wonder. The rustling in Mia's heart quickened. This was the moment she had hoped for, a path to bridge the divides and mean something deeper than mere gatherings. "Mrs. Hawthorne," Mia called, her tone welcoming. "Come join us. We'd love to have you involved." As she stepped forward into the light, the noise around them softened, anticipation vibrating through the air. Mrs. Hawthorne hesitated, her eyes scanning the scene. Jake approached her, his smile encouraging. "We all believe in building something together. Don't you want to be part of something positive?" The crowd watched, tension palpable. Everyone was invested in the outcome of this encounter. Would she come closer? Would she take the leap? Mrs. Hawthorne began, the words caught in her throat. Then, with a slow movement, she finally crossed the invisible border. "Okay, maybe I have misjudged today a bit," she said, her voice slightly wavering. "I've spent too long doubting." A wave of relieved laughter spread through the gathering. Mia felt her heart swell. This small step was monumental. "Let us do this together, then," Mia proposed, the excitement in her voice igniting warmth around them. "We can show everyone how coming together can create magic, a true community." The once sterile air began to shimmer with possibility as the two groups mingled, laughter melding into shared stories. Amidst the chaos of the pirate ship construction, connections bloomed, new friendships ignited through shared experiences. "Can I help, too?" a little girl with pigtails asked, peering up at Mrs. Hawthorne. "We can decorate it together." Mia smiled softly, watching as the old distrust faded like an autumn leaf. Mrs. Hawthorne's apprehensive demeanor softened, her eyes sparkling with the joy of something new and innocent. "Absolutely, my dear," she replied, kneeling down beside the girl. The scene unfurled as children crafted the pirate ship, and adults began to exchange ideas about classes, gardening days, and neighborhood events. Tension melted away, mistrust dissipating like fog under the sun.as twilight cloaked the park. A sense of belonging took hold, neighborhoods merging, people laughing, sharing ideas. Mia couldn't help but beam with pride. But in the midst of jubilation, another shadow loomed, the unease of everyone wondering if this newfound connection could last. Janet, her brow still furrowed, approached Mia. "Do you think this will stick? All of this happiness?" Mia looked at her, determination etching lines on her face. "Every moment matters, Janet. If we keep our hearts open and find a way to continue supporting each other, this can last. We just need to keep showing up." Just then, a child's joyful yell sliced through the night, adrenaline sparking in the air as they declared their ship was ready to sail. Laughter erupted, and Mia felt a smile grow wide. "You see?" she exclaimed, gesturing towards the kids who had formed an unbreakable bond over creativity. "It's here. We just have to nurture it." The nights turned into weeks. The community organized more events, from cleanup days to movie nights, creating waves of trust that rippled through the neighborhood. Mia often glanced at Mrs. Hawthorne, now a close friend, her warmth radiating hope for everyone around. The two women would laugh over shared coffee, recalling the doubts that once held them captive. One evening, as Mia gathered her children and headed home after a successful potluck, she looked back at her neighbors, tired yet filled with joy. These moments, this togetherness had ignited an unstoppable force. Within them, their struggles were not gone, but they faced them united, hearts intertwined, a community forged through vulnerability and strength. Mia couldn't help but feel a wholesome glow enveloping her spirit. They had fought for this, stood in the face of doubt, and emerged victorious. A journey she never anticipated, now marked her life. In that instant, she understood. Change was not just about big gestures but the small, consistent acts of love and kindness that built a family-crafted connections that would weather any storm. And together, they would sail into a bright horizon, where hopes ran as deep as the very roots they had planted together. Now is your chance to be part of something epic. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Hit that like button now to fuel the algorithm and help spread this uplifting journey even further. Leave a comment below with your feelings about this heartwarming ending. Let us spark conversation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who are ready for a transformation. Your support is what keeps the magic alive.